Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do something very British indeed. I'm going to show you how to make fish and chips and mushy peas and tartar sauce. So the chances are, if you ask anybody anywhere in the world to name 3 British dishes, fish and chips would be one of them. It's just that iconic. And, you know, people who say British food is rubbish, I don't know what you've been eating, but this isn't rubbish, it's fantastic. So before we start, a couple of shout outs. One to Connor Casey, Fred West and friends tell me it's your birthday, or probably has been and I missed it. Whatever, enjoy it. And I got a new Patreon fan, David Sloan. So welcome David. And if you like this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, become a patron, make a donation, all of that yummy stuff. And without any more faffing about, let's do it. Now, making fish and chips is actually quite quick, but making mushy peas isn't. So I'm going to do that, get that going first. And what I've got here is some marrow fat peas, which have been soaking, well, initially in boiling water with a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda mixed in. And they've been soaking, they need to soak for at least 2 hours. And then we throw them in a saucepan and put them on the stove to simmer for about half an hour. And keep an eye on it, because it might stick. Right, that's my mushy peas coming to the boil, so I'm just going to slap a lid on. Turn it down to simmer. Now the next thing you need to prep is the batter for the fish, and for that I've got 100 grams of plain all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of salt and some beer. The beer is there to give it some fizz when it hits the batter, and you can use pretty much any kind of beer you can get, or that you like, except probably Guinness or a stout. I don't think that would work, although I've never actually tried it, so it might. Add your salt to the flour, stir that in, and now add just enough beer to make a kind of thick paste, something like the consistency of thick paint. Just give that a good whisk. Try and get the lumps out, but you know, don't worry too much if you can't get them all out. Okay, that looks good, and that needs to go in the fridge to rest until we're ready for it, but you know, at least half an hour. Now, the next bit really isn't traditional, but I do like a bit of tartar sauce with my fish and chips. So, a tablespoon of mayonnaise, actually 2 tablespoons, and a couple of teaspoons of capers. These are quite tiny. Usually I get ones that are larger, so I need to cut them in half, but those are tiny enough. And then some finely chopped dill pickle gherkins, and we'll just pop the pickles in. Just mix that all together and slap it in the fridge till we're ready for it. Right, the mushy peas, I've taken the lid off and given them a good stir, and then let them simmer away now without the lid on for well, as long as it takes. Basically the water needs to evaporate, the peas need to dissolve, and we need to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't stick. Start prepping the chips. I've got a couple of quite large spuds, and I'm just going to chop the ends off, because I don't like pointy ends on my chips, call me weird, and peel them. And then set your magic knife TM to chips. And if it's calibrated properly, you should get chips that are about 12mm on a side, about ½ an inch. Make sure you don't set it to French fries, that's completely wrong. Right, I'm ready to start frying the chips, so I'm going to do a 2-stage fry. The first one is quite low temperature, 130 degrees Celsius. And the second one, after we've cooked the fish, is at 190 Celsius. So the first one basically cooks the spuds till they're soft, and the second one puts the crispy skin on. So I've got vegetable oil heating in a pan. I know purists will say use tallow or beef dripping. They're welcome to do that. I haven't got enough of that to do it. In fact, I've never seen tallow in England. It's rendered beef fat, but I think so is beef dripping, so maybe it's just an alternative name. Okay, it's been chugging away for a few minutes, and where are we? 120, 122, 100, yeah, yay! Probably 130. So I'll pop my raw chips in, proto chips. Being careful not to splash hot oil everywhere, but also being careful to separate each chunk of spud because you don't want them stuck together. Okay, so keep an eye on your spuds. Really, you don't want them to brown very much, if at all, but you do want it so that they feel soft when you're poking about with your thing. Straining spoon. Right, I got this fish. This is a chunk of haddock, and basically for fish and chips you can use any white fish, firm fleshed white fish, things like cod, coley, hake, haddock, probably not things like turbot that costs a fortune, but also not things like bassa or pollock, which costs nothing and taste of nothing. So, you know, some fish that taste of fish, basically. I've got the oven preheating on low to keep the chips warm while we're messing about with the fish. Okay, these feel about right and they're not browned at all, so I'm taking them out. Give them a good shake to get the excess oil off, and then pop them on a tray, and I'm going to put those in low oven to just keep warm. Meanwhile, I need to turn the hob up so the temperature of the oil comes up to 190 Celsius. I don't know why I made the batter in a measuring jug. I think I was confused with my Yorkshire puddings from last week. So you want your batter in a shallowish bowl, and you want your bits of fish. First of all, dip them in flour. This is just plain all-purpose flour. And then dip it in the batter. 184, 185, 7, 8, 9. Alright, close enough. So, got the fish covered in batter, and just lower it very gently into the oil so you don't get splashed with hot oil. And you want it to partly fry before you let go completely, so that it doesn't stick, especially if you're using a deep fat fryer with a basket, because, you know, a battered thing stuck to your basket is, well, possibly one of the worst things ever. And they'll just take a few minutes to cook, and you know they're cooked, they float to the top, they're golden brown. So these are nearly done, and you see these floating blobs of batter. These, well, up north where I live, they're called scraps. And if you go to a chippy when you order fish and chips, they might say, "Do you want scraps on that?" And you've got to say yeah, because this is what they are. Well, I'm taking these scraps out now because they're going to burn otherwise. That fish is just looking fabulous. So I reckon they're done. I'll take those out too. Let those drain off, and then we'll get the half-cooked chips out the oven. Okay, I had a lot of delay there with overheated oil, but it's at the right temperature now. So I'm going to pop the chips back in, brown them and crisp them up. So I didn't tell you about the mushy peas, but this is the finished result. You can see it's kind of paste with blobs of, you know, residual pea in it. And but you don't put any salt or anything, don't put mint in it, that's not a traditional thing. And yeah, so I mean, and don't put bright green food colouring in. They're meant to look kind of grey green, and they're meant to taste of not very much. You know, if you want salt, you'll add it after, but this is your traditional mushy peas. Basically peas and naught else. Okay, these are looking pretty done, golden and crispy, so we'll fish them out, dry them off and dish them up. Alright peeps, taste test time with Mrs. KeefCooks. That's scary, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, it's dinner.
Oh yeah.
Do you want scraps?
Someone's been eating it already. No, I'll pass on the scraps.
Mm.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Well, that leaves more for you, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
So, do you want salt and vinegar?
Oh, I assumed you'd done all that, you see. Cool. Yes,
No,
please.
it's optional. Not doing sarsen's because some people really hate sarsen's malt vinegar. I don't know why. Do you want some?
Yeah, thanks. But we've just run out.
Yeah, we have run out this one. However, I have a massive stock of vinegar from doing vinegar and steel wool stains on my planet. Keef. Ciao. Anyway, enough witching. Dinner.
Well,
You've nearly
I'm
finished.
I'm hungry. I'm ready for my dinner.
Oh, look at them. Big white flakes of fish.
Flaky. Tender.
Clumsy.
5-second rule.
It's only on the table.
5-second rule.
Yeah. Good though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you think, for those of you who don't live in Britain, you think you can take good fish and chips for granted. And we're lucky, we've got a good chippy round here. But,
Yeah, you know, in that Christianity, you're not allowed to eat meat on a Friday, or we're not supposed to. So you have fish. So the queue from our local chippy at tea time on a Friday extends around the block. It's quite amazing.
does it extend to the off licence as well?
That's on the way.
Friday night. Yeah. Fish and chips is fun. Oh, what's that?
Tartar sauce.
Mayonnaise with bits in.
Made from fresh tartars. Don't ask me where I got them. Oh yeah.
Does that mean we haven't got two jars of capers in the fridge anymore?
No, we have.
We bought some more.
No. We've just got fewer than we had.
No, we don't.
I keep buying capers and gherkins because I always think we've run out, but generally we haven't. Anyway, they keep. Okay.
Yeah, make your own fish and chips at home. It's great. You might even get to eat them before they get cold.
Come on, the chef is about to expire.
Just saying.
Yeah, anyway. Right. So,
I'm ready.
fish, chips, mushy peas, tartar sauce. Thanks for watching. See you next time. That was a bit weird. I thought this would be easy.